Hi guys, James at RampantLionReviews again for you today with another beer review. For this one we are going to head up to Ellon in Aberdeenshire here in Scotland once again, which many of you will probably know is home to Brewdog, and we've got another one of their Ace of Hops series to have a look at today. And this of course is the series that replaced the IPA is Dead, and the whole point is basically to teach the beer drinker about the different hops and the different flavours you can get from hops. So this one is the Ace of Citra, which is the third in the series. I didn't get to review Ace of Simcoe, which was the first one. I reviewed the Chinook one for you a few videos ago. Now there's this one, and you will see me review Equinox in a few videos time. So I hope you enjoy these reviews. This is a really good series of beer to actually use to teach yourself about the different flavours that hops, and even as a reviewer you're always learning new things about the different hop strains and stuff, and it's really cool to see them isolated on their own so you can fully appreciate them. So like I say, this is a series of beers from Brewdog that I would recommend you take a look at, especially if you're interested in beer tasting rather than just kind of enjoyment purposes. But anyway, as is usual with my beer reviews then, I'll tell you a little bit about the brewery. If you want to get straight to the tasting, just fast forward. All the usual links are in the description below. That's the brewery website, the link to my other reviews I've done from Brewdog before. No doubt there will be more in the near future. There's 120 or so videos there, so do check them out. There's all the usual social media. If you want to see more beer reviews, do subscribe to the channel. The whole channel has a geography based tagging system of course, so you can go into the homepage and search for beer based on country, city or state, whatever it is you're interested in. Do check out the playlists of beers from different countries. There is one for the Scottish beers, and as always please do get in touch and let me know some of the other beers and breweries you guys would like to see me review. Always interesting to hear from you guys, and your support of the channel is hugely appreciated. So anyway, to tell you a little bit about Brewdog then. So as I've told you many a time, Brewdog were founded by two guys, James Watt and Martin Dickey, back in 2007, and their very first brewery was a small industrial unit in the Keswick Industrial Estate in Fraserburgh in the very northeast of Scotland, right on the tip of the monster's nose, as I like to say, because of course Scotland does look a bit like a monster's head. But more recently they've moved to their main brewing operation, to their new very shiny and purpose-built facility in Ellon, which is closer to the city of Aberdeen, where I used to study chemistry. So these guys are known for being a very experimental craft brewing, particularly at one point for their strong beers as well. They held the title of World's Strongest Beer on 3 separate occasions, but they're largely inspired by the American craft brewing renaissance. They do often cite Stone Brewing Company as one of their main influences, and if you try like the Stone IPA and then compare it to Punk IPA, you can see what is going on there. You can see the influence in the beer, and they do say that IPAs are their kind of signature style, although personally I would argue that some of Brewdog's stronger beers have been the darker things. But anyway, these days they have several brew pubs throughout the UK. The first of these opened up in Aberdeen in Scotland. I was there on the opening night for it of course, but they spread down throughout the rest of Scotland into England, and then they've gone further afield. I think there's the furthest away one's Tokyo to the east, and then Sao Paulo to the west in Brazil. And these ones, they're always expanding, but they're actually the largest independently owned Scottish craft brewery today, and they have a second brewery now over in Columbus, Ohio in America that they've just finished work on. But what's interesting about this brewery is their business model. They're actually a largely crowd-funded brewery, so basically fans of the beers can buy shares in the brewery in exchange for a discount. This goes into the brewery business, and they basically fund their infrastructure developments with it. So Brewdog have grown really massively because of this program. So if you're studying business, it could be a very interesting thing for you to write a thesis about actually, so do keep that in mind. But these days they're further expanding their pub network, and they're also working on doing some spirits as well. So they've started the Lone Wolf Distillery. They have released a few gins so far from what I gather, but it will be another 2 years or so before the whiskies come out, because obviously they do have to mature. So a lot of interesting things from Brewdog. This is one of the 2016 beers, and like I said in a couple of the other videos, 2016 for me at least I thought was a very strong year for Brewdog. So we're looking forward to some of the 2017 beers coming out, and as I say, if you want to try the kind of individual hops on their own, this is a really kind of good place to go, and quite easily available throughout the world actually. So that's another thing to bear in mind about the Brewdog beers. So let's actually get on to the tasting of this beer then. So on the side here, as I always do with the Brewdog beers, let's read the blurb. So it says here, "We love hops. We adore and worship their prolific ability to transform beer. You could say we have a terminal addiction. To celebrate this fetish, we're heroing out our favourites in single hop limited releases. No starring, no extras, no compromise. The hop is the hero. A biscuity malty backbone layered with berry and resin, culminating with lime zest hit and explosive bitter citrus finish. Our ace in the hole, devastatingly singular, deliciously bitter, serving up an ace each and every time. Go get a mace." So yeah, looks really quite nice. I'll just let you have a wee quick look at this one on the camera there. Kind of typical artwork for this series, of course, is just the kind of standard Brewdog artwork on this one. There you can see the bottle cap on this one. I'll just tell you a little bit about the Citra hop as well, because that's always an interesting point to make about this. So the Citra hop was released in 2007, having been developed by the Hop Breeding Company over in America, and it's a crossbreed basically of the Hallertau Mittelfrüh, basically Hallertau Mid-Spring, the US Tettnanger, Brewer's Gold and East Kent Goldings. If I'm not mistaken, both of those latter two hops are English ones, so it's interesting that this kind of big fruity hop actually is a crossbreed mainly of German and English hops, or a US variety of a German hop. So yeah, really nice looking bottle, this one. Let's get it out then and get on with the tasting. So yeah, definitely looking forward to this. One of the other kind of series of beers that I really remember being the first single hop IPAs that I saw, it was the McKellar did a series, and it was for somebody's PhD thesis, and they did a series of 20 single hopped beers, and it was I think it was just to do with how these hops aged, and it was all about tasting profiles and things like this within a few different months, and it was really cool actually. That was the first time I encountered the single hop beers. But this Ace of Hops series that Brewdog are doing just now, it of course replaces the IPA is Dead series, which you would have seen me review a few years ago actually. So yeah, really quite cool that they're doing these. It's maybe just to do with brewing plans, of course, and different marketing and stuff, that they have changed this series, but I always enjoyed it when you got the 4-packs of the IPA is Dead. But they're releasing these ones every 3 months. They're releasing a new beer every 3 months instead of a 4-pack once a year, so kind of the same goal basically. So as you can see with this one, it's poured a really nice kind of pale golden straw colour. This, it looks really nice. There's a kind of half finger of a frothy white head there. You can see the beer is kind of clear. If I put my fingers behind it, you can see there is some transparency, but mainly the beer is quite opaque. There's quite a few little sediment particles just floating around, but they're very small in size, of course. But a really quite nice looking beer, this one. I think it's fair to say it's not so much a golden straw colour, it's more a kind of yellow orangey amber, this one. Definitely leaning more towards the yellow though, but a very nice looking beer. So let's have a closer look at the aroma of this one then. Now, that does smell really good. You know, I have had a few Citra single hop IPAs. The one that springs to mind from Scotland, of course, was one from Windswept Brewing. They had a really nice beer. I think it was, if I remember rightly, it was called Tornado. And that was the first kind of single hopped Citra beer that I came across. That was a really nice beer. And this one, it really does remind me, the aroma on this beer really does remind me of that a little bit. So with this one, you can smell the nice kind of malty character coming out of the beer. You've got a nice kind of biscuity malt base. It's actually even got a little bit more of a kind of richer caramel note to it, to be honest. And there's some bready notes in there, but that's underpinning the beer, of course. The Citra hop, it's all about the fruity character. So to me, this one doesn't smell overly bitter. It actually is really kind of sweet and juicy fruity. And you know, the Citra hop, I've always found it gives you this kind of lychees and sort of melon character. You do get a bit of lemon lime from it. And on this one, you can get a little bit, for me it's actually melon that's coming out of this one. You can get a little bit of the limey character as well, I would say. Not really getting much in the way of kind of grapefruit and things, but I think there's a little bit of a sort of almost apricot-y note to this beer as well. I'm getting a wee bit of apricot from this one, to be honest. But a really nice fruity nose. You can smell a little bit of grapefruit just underpinning it, but as I've always said when it comes to the Citra hop, this hop really is more about these lighter tropical juicy fruit notes, so just kind of pay attention to that part of the nose. You can pick up, of course, the floral aromatic characters of the hop as well. Maybe there's a little bit of pine resin, but to me it certainly comes across more floral. But really the main notes about this beer, it's the juicy tropical fruits, like I was saying, a bit of melon. I think there's a bit of apricot coming out there. You can smell some sort of limey character as well, and just some grapefruit kind of underpinning the beer. There's maybe even a bit of mango or something in there too, but the malt base is quite nice too. You can smell a bit of the sweetness there. But yeah, so as I always say, just take a little bit of time and enjoy the aroma of your beer before you get stuck in. That's a really good way to do tastings. You know, it's half the experience with whiskey and craft beer and things like this. But yeah, let's get stuck into this one. So this one is the Ace of Citra, a 4.5% single Citra hop IPA from Brewdog up in Ellon in Aberdeenshire. Slàinte. Now that's pretty nice. Does take the bitterness a little bit of time just to build up on the palate. I mean, for me, this beer is nowhere near as bitter as some of the other ones you're going to get from Brewdog. Let's be straight up about that. On Rate Beer, as I said, it was rated 80 overall. So it's not one of these beers from Brewdog that's just going to kind of knock you straight out. It is intended to kind of be enjoyed, and really it's for an education purpose, this beer, more than anything. But yeah, this is just nice. It's interesting once again to see the hop kind of isolated actually. So in the middle of your palate, you've got a nice kind of bready character that just kind of underpins the whole beer. On top of that, there's a little bit of a kind of grainy, biscuity thing. It reminds me of the digestive biscuits, the flavour you're getting out of here. I don't know if you get those over in America and things, but digestive biscuits is the flavour I'm getting on the palate. Maybe in the middle of the tongue there's a little bit of a richer caramel, but the malt base is kind of as you'd expect. But as I was saying, the whole point of this beer is the hop. So let's look at that part of the flavour. And I can definitely say with this beer, the hoppy bitterness is kind of building as my palate adjusts to the beer. But on the sides of your palate, there's a little bit of a piney resin character there. You can feel that, and it starts to push its way out as you move further into the aftertaste of the beer. But it's actually coming across, to me at least, a little bit more floral, and it's interesting to pick that up because I always found that the Citra hop, it did have a little kind of underlining of pine in most of the beers I've tried, because obviously the flavours change when you start to blend hops and things like that. But it's interesting just to see that little floral character that the hop has. Yeah, you know, the floral character is kind of light. You get a bit of the almost spicy character in there from the floral notes as well, and there's a good bit of like pine resin just underpinning it. It's good to see this, how this kind of thing blends together. And as a beer tuber, you know, you're always learning things when it comes to beer. Yeah, this is really nice. So in terms of the fruitiness of the beer, as always with these kind of beers, it's just a little bit of grassiness around the front curve of the palate, but the fruitiness just comes out behind that front curve of your tongue. You get that little oily bubble, and that's where all these fruity esters come out. So for me, it's a little bit of a sort of melony flavour and a bit of lime, I think. There is a wee tiny bit of grapefruit just underpinning it, but I think it's mainly a sort of lemon limey character, maybe even a little bit of lychee or something like that. The lychee's flavours, I wasn't picking those up in the aroma, but in the flavour I can kind of pick them up a little bit. But yeah, the beer starts off with the fruits. You've got a little bit of grapefruit just underpinning the beer. It progresses a bit, and then you start to get the kind of the lighter, maybe like gooseberry, lychee's notes. Not quite sure it's gooseberry, to be honest with you. It seems to me more like a sort of melony or limey character coming out of the beer. It really is quite nice. And as I've always said with the Citra hop, it is these lighter kind of tropical fruits that the beer is known for. But as you move into the aftertaste, you can feel a little bit of that biscuity sweetness just pushing its way out of the beer. The floral character kind of lingers there. The pine resin starts to fade away. A bit of the kind of grassiness too, but for me, it's that sort of limey, kind of melony, maybe, to be honest, it maybe even is a little bit of gooseberry actually coming out of this beer. But again, you know, it's really nice. I like the Citra hop. I really do enjoy it. So it is quite interesting to see it kind of isolated on its own, so you can learn a bit more about the flavour. They've done this really quite nicely, actually. But yeah, really good. Be interested to see how these turned out as double IPAs. I think West Coast Brewery over in Sweden, they're actually doing a series of beers that are double single hopped IPAs. So that one would be an interesting one to try. So I'll have a look at those when I get back to Sweden and see what ones I can find. But this one has been done really nicely. As I said, it's not one of the Brewdog beers that's going to absolutely blow your head off. It's more just for enjoyment and kind of education purposes, this one. So the rating that it has is probably a bit fair, to be honest. So in terms of the mouthfeel of this one, I'd say it's kind of light to mid-bodied, probably on the lighter side of things. Carbonation has a little bit of a prickle to it. It's a session IPA, of course, so you will have a little bit more carbonation just to make the beer a little bit more drinkable. It's more of a wet mouthfeel than an oily mouthfeel, I would say. The malt base has a little bit of sweetness, but otherwise it's quite smooth. There is a little bit of hoppy bitterness, some juicy character there as well, and at some points the hops are quite smooth too. But overall, you know, it's another quite nice beer from Brewdog. This one would be interesting to try on tap, just see how the malt base changes a little bit with the thicker mouthfeel. Would be interesting to see how it turned out as a double IPA as well. But yeah, really quite nice beer, this one. If you get the chance to try it, I really would recommend that you do. One, because it's good to see how this hop is, this very popular hop actually amongst craft brewers, is when it's on its own. And two, you know, it's just a nice flavoured beer. So yeah, thank you once again for watching my beer reviews. I hope you've enjoyed this one. Until the next time, please like, subscribe, share, all the usual YouTube stuff. Do check out my social media. Let me know in the comment section below your own thoughts on this beer and the brewery and stuff in the comment section below. Do let me know what your favourite hops are and stuff as well. I've got my favourites. I like Amarillo, I like Mosaic, I like Riwaka of course as well from New Zealand. Nelson Sauvin's beautiful. There's loads of really good hops out there. Galaxy from Australia is another one. Soriachi Ace from Japan. There's so many out there, so I'm definitely looking forward to seeing how this series progresses from Brewdog. The next beer review I'm going to do in this series is the Equinox, of course, and I've never tried a single hop IPA of that, so definitely looking forward to that one. Stay tuned for it, and I will catch you soon with more beer reviews. The Ace of Citra from Brewdog's Ace of Hop series here in Aberdeenshire in Scotland. Slange just now, and I'll catch you guys very soon. Cheers.